You don't fail because you're not talented. You fail when you quit working on yourself. Let me tell you something most people are too afraid to hear. If you're breathing, if your heart is still beating, and if you're still willing to work, you are not done. You are not defeated. You are not a failure. Failure isn't falling down. Failure is deciding you're not worth the effort to get back up. And today I want you to understand this truth deep in your bones. When you commit to hard work on yourself, you don't lose. Ever. Hard work is the great equalizer because it does not ask who you are, where you come from, or what you were handed at birth. It does not care about your last name, your bank account, your accent, or your past mistakes. Hard work shows up the same way for everyone, and it offers the same deal to everyone. Give me your effort, your discipline, your consistency, and I will give you growth. That's it. No shortcuts, no favoritism. In a world obsessed with talent, luck, and overnight success, hard work remains the most underestimated force on the planet. People love to talk about gifted people, but they forget something important. Gifted people who don't work lose every single time to ordinary people who refuse to stop. Hard work closes gaps. It takes people who were counted out and slowly, quietly moves them to the front of the line. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the fastest. You don't need to be the most confident. You just need to be willing to work longer, harder, and more honestly than everyone else. Hard work has a way of silencing excuses. When you commit to it, the noise fades, the comparisons fade, the envy fades. Because when you are locked into your work, you don't have time to worry about who's ahead of you or who got an easier start. You're too busy building, too busy learning, too busy sharpening your edge. Hard work shifts your focus from what you don't have to what you can control. And control is power. Every hour you invest, every skill you develop, every uncomfortable moment you push through becomes proof. Proof that you are capable. Proof that you are growing. Proof that you are no longer the same person you were yesterday. That proof stacks up. And one day you look back and realize the distance between who you were and who you've become is massive. Not because you are lucky, but because you stayed committed when it would have been easier to walk away. Hard work humbles you, but it also builds you. It teaches patience in a world that wants everything now. It teaches resilience in a world that quits fast. It teaches respect for the process when everyone else is chasing results without foundations. When you work hard, you stop expecting immediate rewards. You understand that progress is layered, that mastery takes time, and that success is rented. And the rent is due every single day. That mindset changes how you move. You stop begging for validation. You stop needing applause. You stop waiting for someone to notice you. You know that if you put the work in, recognition will eventually have no choice but to find you. And even if it doesn't, you still win. Because the work itself has already transformed you into someone stronger, sharper, and more disciplined than before. Hard work also builds self-respect, and that is something no one can take from you. When you know you've given your all, you stand differently. You speak differently. You walk into rooms with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. That confidence doesn't come from success, it comes from effort. It comes from knowing you didn't cheat yourself, knowing you didn't cut corners, knowing you showed up when it was uncomfortable, when it was boring, when it was painful. That kind of confidence is unshakable because it's rooted in truth. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to perform. You know what you've done. You know what you're capable of. And once you have that, fear loses its grip. Doubt still shows up, but it doesn't control you anymore. You've already proven to yourself that you can endure. Hard work turns setbacks into stepping stones. When you work consistently, failure doesn't break you. It informs you. You don't collapse when something goes wrong. You analyze it. You adjust. You improve. People who rely on talent panic when things don't go their way. People who rely on hard work adapt. They understand that mistakes are part of the process, not the end of it. Every setback becomes training. Every loss becomes experience. And experience combined with effort is dangerous. That's how people who were once overlooked become unstoppable. They don't rise because life got easier. They rise because they got stronger. Strong enough to handle pressure. Strong enough to stay focused. Strong enough to keep going when results are delayed. Hard work eventually changes how the world responds to you. At first, nobody notices. Then a few people notice. Then suddenly people start asking how you did it. But what they don't see is the long stretch of time where nothing was happening on the outside while everything was changing on the inside. They don't see the discipline. They don't see the sacrifices. They don't see the moments you chose growth over comfort. And that's fine, because the reward of hard work isn't applause, it's capability. It's knowing that no matter where you are dropped, no matter what you lose, no matter how many times you have to start over, you can rebuild. Because you've done it before. Because hard work made you equal to any challenge placed in front of you. So remember this. Talent can open a door, but hard work keeps it open. Circumstances can slow you down, but effort will always move you forward. As long as you are willing to work on yourself relentlessly, honestly, and consistently, you are never behind, never defeated, and never finished. Hard work doesn't guarantee ease, but it guarantees growth, and growth makes failure impossible. Self-belief is not something you're born holding in your hands. Nobody arrives here confident, unshakable, and fearless. That's a lie we tell ourselves when we look at people who seem powerful and assume they were always that way. The truth is, belief is built brick by brick, moment by moment, choice by choice. It starts fragile. It starts quiet. It starts the first time you decide to try even though you're unsure. The first time you show up even though your voice shakes. The first time you take action without guarantees. That's where belief begins, not in certainty, but in courage. Every time you move forward without permission from fear, you lay another brick. And over time, that fragile thing becomes solid. But only if you keep building. Self-belief doesn't respond to wishing. It responds to work. Most people wait to feel confident before they act, and that's why they stay stuck. Confidence doesn't come first. Action does. You don't believe in yourself and then do hard things. You do hard things and belief is forced to catch up. Every uncomfortable action sends a message to your mind, I can handle this. Every time you keep going when it would be easier to stop, your inner voice changes. It stops asking, what if I fail? And starts saying, I've survived worse. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it happens inevitably when you stay in motion. Self-belief grows in environments of resistance. Comfort doesn't create it. Ease doesn't strengthen it, struggle does. And once you understand that, you stop running from difficulty and start using it as fuel. Self-belief is built in the moments nobody applauds. The early mornings, the late nights, the days when progress feels invisible. When you show up and there's no reward, no recognition, no reassurance that you're on the right path. Those moments matter more than the wins, because they test your integrity with yourself. Are you willing to keep going when the only witness is you? Because every time you do, something powerful happens internally. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to know that your word means something. That when you say you're going to do something, you follow through. That trust becomes confidence. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence. Real confidence. The kind that doesn't need approval because it's anchored in evidence. Evidence you created through consistency. Self-belief also requires you to stop negotiating with doubt. Doubt will always show up. That's not the problem. The problem is when you give it authority, when you let it decide your limits, when you listen to it more than you listen to your commitment. Strong people aren't people without doubt. They're people who don't obey it. They move anyway. They take the step anyway. They speak anyway. And every time they do, doubt gets weaker. Not because it disappears, but because it loses credibility. Your mind starts remembering all the times you thought you couldn't and did. All the times you were afraid and survived. All the times you kept going despite the noise. That memory becomes a weapon, and belief becomes less about feeling ready and more about knowing you'll figure it out. Self-belief grows when you stop outsourcing your worth, when you stop needing validation to move forward, when you stop waiting for someone to tell you you're capable. The moment you decide that your effort is enough, your standards rise. You no longer ask, am I good enough? You ask, am I giving enough? That shift changes everything, because effort is always within your control. And when you control your effort, you control your growth. Belief stops being emotional and starts being structural. It's no longer based on mood, it's based on discipline. You believe in yourself because you've seen yourself endure, you've seen yourself learn, you've seen yourself adapt. That kind of belief doesn't collapse under pressure, it strengthens. Over time, self-belief becomes an identity, not something you turn on and off, but something you live from. You stop introducing yourself as who you used to be and start operating as who you're becoming. Challenges don't intimidate you the same way anymore. They excite you not because they're easy, but because you trust your ability to rise. You know that even if you don't have the answers now, you'll find them through action. You know that even if you fall short, you'll recover. That knowledge is freedom. It allows you to take bigger risks, dream bigger dreams, and demand more from yourself. And that's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not by being gifted, but by building belief through relentless action. So understand this deeply. Self-belief is earned in motion, not granted in advance. You don't wait until you feel strong. You act until you are strong. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a vote for the person you're becoming. Keep showing up. Keep choosing effort over fear. Because the more you do, the less you question who you are. And one day, you won't be trying to believe in yourself anymore. You'll simply know. Failure is not a sentence handed down by life. It's a signal asking for your attention. Most people hear the word failure and immediately attach shame to it, as if one moment, one mistake, or one loss defines their entire existence. That mindset is what breaks people, not the failure itself. Because failure, when you strip away the emotion, is information. It's feedback telling you what didn't work, what needs adjustment, and where growth is required. Life isn't punishing you when things fall apart, it's educating you. But education only matters if you're willing to learn. The moment you decide that failure is a lesson instead of a label, you take your power back. You stop seeing setbacks as dead ends and start seeing them as directions. The people who rise aren't the ones who avoid failure, they're the ones who study it. They ask different questions. Instead of, why does this always happen to me? They ask, what is this teaching me? That shift alone separates growth from stagnation. Every loss carries data about your preparation, your mindset, your habits, your blind spots. Ignoring that data keeps you stuck in the same cycle. Using it moves you forward. Failure exposes weaknesses, not to embarrass you, but to strengthen you. It reveals where you need discipline, patience, skill, or humility. And if you're willing to face those truths honestly, failure becomes one of the most powerful tools you'll ever have. Most people quit right after failure because they confuse pain with meaning. Pain feels like a verdict, but it's not. Pain is temporary, lessons are permanent. The discomfort of failing is the cost of growth, and growth always demands payment. When something doesn't work, your ego takes a hit. That's normal. But if you let ego decide your next move, you'll retreat instead of recalibrate. Growth requires you to separate your identity from the outcome. You are not your last attempt. You are not your last mistake. You are the sum of how you respond next. The moment you understand that, failure loses its ability to define you and gains its ability to refine you. Failure also teaches patience in a way success never can. When things go right, it's easy to assume you've figured it all out. When things go wrong, you're forced to slow down, reflect, and rebuild. That process develops depth. It builds resilience. It teaches you how to endure uncertainty without panicking. People who have never failed crumble under pressure because they've never had to rebuild themselves. People who have failed and kept going become unshakable because they know they can survive disruption. They've already been broken down and built back up. That experience becomes internal security. You stop fearing loss because you trust your ability to recover. Failure also filters your commitment. It reveals how badly you really want something. When everything is smooth, commitment is easy. When obstacles appear, truth shows up. Some people walk away at the first sign of resistance because they were never invested in the process, only the outcome. Others lean in harder because failure awakens something deeper, purpose. That's when effort becomes personal. That's when persistence becomes non-negotiable. Failure doesn't stop those people, it sharpens them. It forces them to get more disciplined, more focused, more intentional. And eventually that intensity creates results that would have never existed without the struggle. Over time, your relationship with failure changes. You stop seeing it as an enemy and start seeing it as a mentor. You expect it, you respect it, you use it, you understand that every meaningful path includes setbacks, delays, and missteps. And instead of asking life for fewer challenges, you ask yourself to become stronger. That's when failure loses its power to scare you. You know that even if you fall short, you'll gain insight. Even if you lose, you'll grow. Even if you're knocked down, you'll stand up smarter than before. And that mindset makes you dangerous in the best way, because nothing can stop someone who refuses to waste a lesson. So remember this. Failure is not the end of your story, it's the edit. It's life showing you what to refine, not who to be. If you listen, adjust, and keep moving forward, failure becomes fuel instead of a finish line. Learn the lesson, make the correction, take the next step. Because as long as you're learning, you're not losing, you're becoming. Motivation is emotional. It rises when things feel exciting and disappears when things feel heavy. That's why relying on it is dangerous. Motivation waits for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect feeling. Discipline doesn't wait. Discipline moves. It shows up when energy is low, when confidence is shaky, when the outcome is uncertain. Discipline understands something motivation never will. Progress doesn't care how you feel. The world doesn't pause because you're tired. Your goals don't slow down because you're unsure. Discipline is the decision to act without negotiation. It's the quiet agreement you make with yourself that no matter what the day brings, you will do what needs to be done. Discipline is built through repetition, not inspiration. You don't wake up disciplined. You practice it. Every time you choose effort over comfort, you strengthen it. Every time you follow through instead of backing out, it grows. Discipline lives in routines, not speeches. It's in the small, unglamorous actions done consistently over time. The early alarm, the extra repetition, the uncomfortable conversation, the choice to prepare when no one is watching. These moments don't feel powerful in the moment, but they stack. And eventually those stacks become momentum. That's when people call you driven. But what they're really seeing is discipline at work. Discipline gives you freedom. That sounds backwards to people who see discipline as restriction. But discipline